Chapter 4. Lex, one of Ryuk's Daleks, looked like a standard Dalek except for his unusual grey and purple livery and the crescent moon symbol on his dome, yet he was different than most. All of the Daleks under Ryuk's command were unconditioned, not through choice but as a result of a random genetic defect that could not be predicted. Normally such Daleks would be analysed then disposed of, but Ryuk found Lex in the First Army medical bay and petitioned the Emperor that he could find a use for these seemingly unusable Daleks. It took weeks, but Ryuk was able to teach 10 unconditioned Daleks, but they seemed unwilling to follow any other Dalek except Ryuk. So the Emperor decreed that any salvageable anomaly would be transferred to Ryuk, who by that time had assembled a force of 40 Daleks. Sadly, not all Daleks could be saved, and Ryuk had the unpleasant duty of terminating several Daleks that were simply too far gone. It was this success that convinced the Emperor that Ryuk could do something with the slaves of the Empire. Lex approached the base escorting the slave representative. Lex didn't know his name, nor did he care. He thought he heard one of the other slaves call the human Carl, but to him one human was the same as the next. The main doors responded to his remote activation and he ushered the human inside.
Move!
Lex brought the human to Ryuk's office where Ryuk was waiting, sat at his desk. Carl, which was indeed the human's name, noted that Ryuk was sat on a storage crate. He laughed and then realised the Daleks didn't need chairs, so Ryuk had to use what he could find. Lex pushed the human forward.
The slave representative as ordered.
Ryuk looked up from the holo-display occupying most of the desk. Thank you, Lex. Dismissed.
You do not wish me to stand guard?
Lex questioned. Carl had never heard a Dalek directly question an order before. Ryuk gave Lex a look which Carl assumed the Dalek had been given many times before and knew what it meant, and he made a hasty retreat from the room. Ryuk turned his attention back to his display. An awkward silence occupied the room. Carl didn't know if he was meant to sit on the crate in front of the desk or wait for instructions. Daleks were always clear about what the slaves should do. Normally it was do not move, work, or the most common, exterminate. A few more moments passed with Ryuk apparently not noticing him. Carl backed away slowly towards the door. He had just placed his hand on the cool metal when Ryuk finally spoke. You are the slave representative? Carl froze as Ryuk once again looked up, closing down the display.
Yes, sir.
A newfound fear gripped Carl's heart, which was threatening to punch its way out of his chest. Ryuk smiled. Please sit. The door would not have opened for you. Even if it had, where would you have gone? Carl sighed and sat on the crate. I apologise for the rough seating arrangements. One thing Daleks aren't very good at making is chairs. Ryuk rose from his seat and came around and sat on the edge of the desk. Carl was impressed by Ryuk. Even if he was a Dalek, he was an impressive piece of genetic engineering. Now, what is your name? Ryuk asked, taking a fresh data slate from a pile.
Carl Lennox.
Former lieutenant in the Eden Alliance Marine Corps, Carl said as he perched on the crate. Ryuk was calling up some information. It says here that you are part of a military escort escorting a civilian supply fleet. Ryuk looked over at Carl, who was thinking back on the events that led him to be captured. Clearly they were painful memories.
We were assigned to lure out a band of pirates lurking in the local systems. The dreadnoughts were to hang back until the pirates fully committed. Imagine our surprise when 4 Dalek saucers dropped out of hyperspace in front of us. We called for assistance, but were told to abandon the fleet.
Ryuk frowned. But you did not?
No, the crew of the escort ship I was on elected to stay and fight, but we were no match for even one Dalek ship.
Then why did you stay?
Carl's eyes met Ryuk. Because it was our duty to protect the civilians.
Ryuk smiled. Good. Then you can protect them here. Carl frowned.
I don't understand.
Let me make this clear. I am not your friend. I do not care about your life or the lives of the other slaves. The colour drained from Carl's face at Ryuk's words.
Then why am I here?
Ryuk put down the data slate. Because I was created to give the Daleks a better understanding of humans and the other non-Dalek races they encounter, and ultimately have to fight and conquer. They need slave labour to free up equipment and personnel, but that labour has to be as efficient as the machines they use. Carl scoffed.
Why didn't you just say, I'll go back and tell the others and we will happily work for the Daleks?
I realise that was sarcastic, but that is exactly what I want you to do.
You can't be serious. Work for the Daleks? The most evil, destructive creatures in the galaxy? Offence intended.
What I propose is a trade. You work for us, and
You let us live? Some trade.
look at it this way. You have not only been abandoned by the Alliance, but the rest of humanity. There has been no rescue attempt, no sign of any fleet actually looking for you. I am giving you the chance to live a normal life, free of debt and all the other detritus that comes with being human. You will be self-sufficient, able to grow your own food, socialize. Most importantly, you would be alive. All we ask is for you to work for us. Those words hit Carl hard.
What of the elderly and the young? They aren't able to work,
Carl asked. Ryuk thought for a moment. We can find work for the elderly that is not physically demanding. As for the young, we will set an age limit. Anyone younger than 16 will not be required to work, but will be required to attend a school that will be organized by you workers. A possible use for the elderly, perhaps. Carl was having a hard time processing this.
You are serious about this? It isn't some morbid trick?
Ryuk looked into Carl's eyes. I give you my word that this is for real.
I will tell the others what you have said. How long do we have to decide?
Ryuk tapped a control on his desk, and Lex returned. Carl took this as the time to stand. I will give you 1 day. If you come to a decision before then, call one of the sentries. Oh, and Mr. Lennox. Carl had started walking towards the door, but turned back to face Ryuk. Any holding back, signs of plans being developed, or small subtle acts of sabotage, and the deal is off, and every worker will be exterminated. Understood? Carl simply nodded, and was escorted out of Ryuk's office. The slaves ultimately agreed to Ryuk's plan, though many of them openly voiced their doubts as to whether or not it would last. Work recommenced under the new system. The 4 groups worked 8-hour shifts. Gomez watched with interest as the slaves' behavior changed over the following weeks. Their usual sluggish walk to the mines and processing center became almost a run, with the sounds of what Ryuk explained was laughter coming from the groups, as they were escorted to their work assignments. A month passed, mostly without incident. Ryuk noted the control room was very quiet, probably due to the fact he was about to contact the Emperor. Establish hyperlink connection with Skaro Control, Ryuk ordered, mentally preparing himself. Though he never showed it, every time he spoke with the Emperor, he felt a cold dread grip his spine. Usually he would have to go through a communications dialect before speaking with the Emperor, but to Ryuk's surprise the Emperor appeared on the monitor. This caused Ryuk suddenly to drop to one knee. Fortunately the Emperor was looking the other way as the connection was made. The Emperor didn't care how Ryuk stood before him, but knew Ryuk felt it important to show respect, so would occasionally try to catch him out. Report for the Emperor on Slave Management Facility 117. The Emperor turned to face Ryuk.
Rise and proceed.
Ryuk rose and took a breath. Production figures show a rise in productivity. Current figures show efficiency at 107%. There was a moment of silence. Ryuk thought that the connection had dropped for a moment, but saw the Emperor's eye stalk twitched.
Excellent. Then the experiment is a success?
On this planet, yes, but I will need to try the process on a larger sample of facilities in order to judge how effective it is.
The commander of Facility 161 will be expecting you.
Understood, Emperor. I have already set out a list of procedures and protocols for dealing with the slaves. Commander Navarre assures me he will follow it to the best of his ability.
Now your work is producing results. You will find it easier to deal with the local commanders. I will have the results transmitted to 161 immediately. Congratulations. You have made a significant contribution to the Empire.
Thank you, Emperor. Ryuk bowed and the communication ended. Over the next year, Ryuk travelled across the Empire, introducing the new system. In all cases, the slaves were on the point of starvation and eagerly accepted the new system. But then the Emperor ordered him to a planet that was still in the process of being conquered. This should be interesting, as his ship exited hyperspace.